Prime Minister's questions yesterday. Ed Miliband tried to cause some trouble by asking David Cameron about opting back into the European arrest warrant, the EAW. Both leaders agreed that the warrant is needed, but not lots of the Prime Minister's Eurosceptic backbenchers. They're threatening to rebel. So what's the case for and against? Here's our Joko.
The Prime Minister is squaring up to what could be quite a row with his backbenchers. Over a year ago, the Home Secretary, Theresa May, announced Britain was opting out of all 133 EU law and order measures and would then seek to rejoin 35 of them in the national interest, including the European arrest warrant. The UK has until the beginning of December to decide whether to rejoin. So how does it work? Any EU member state court can issue a European arrest warrant. The suspect must be accused of an offence that would incur a maximum penalty of at least a year in prison or must have already been sentenced to 4 months in prison. EU states can't refuse to extradite one of their citizens on the grounds of nationality, and politicians no longer make the final decision. Theresa May told the Sunday Times that if Britain opted out, it would become a honeypot for all of Europe's criminals on the run from justice. However, critics argue the warrant is used too often for minor offences and also cedes too much power away from the UK.
Now, joining me from College Green, the Conservative MP, Jacob Rees Mogg, who we understand is a bit of a rebel on this issue. Jacob Rees Mogg, the Conservative Home Secretary, says if we don't sign back into this arrest warrant, we become, quote, a honeypot for Europe's criminals. Is she wrong?
Not only wrong, but it's a particularly silly thing to say, that we have our own laws to enforce against criminals who are in this country, and who we decide to extradite, we can do a matter of UK law with friendly nations. So it's a highly exaggerated point of view.
But we've had lots of trouble before the arrest warrant came in extraditing people. We've been on for years and years. Remember the Irish with the IRA suspects. It's been happening all the time. Now it happens relatively seamlessly.
We have increased the speed of our extradition arrangements with the United States of America, and these are outside the European arrest warrant. So it's perfectly possible to have efficient extradition without it being a European matter. And the key thing about the European arrest warrant is that after the 1st of December, how it is implemented will not be decided by Britain, but will be decided by the Court of Justice of the European Union. So who can arrest British citizens will be ceded to Brussels.
But is it not the case that even if we tried bilateral extradition agreements with countries like France or Germany, under their constitution they do not extradite their own nationals, so we couldn't get them back? We can under the arrest warrant.
We could have a bilateral arrangement with the European Union, which since the Lisbon Treaty has legal personality, and would therefore be able to agree something similar to the European arrest warrant, but outside the competence of the European Court of Justice.
What evidence is there that Brussels would have any interest in that?
Well, the government hasn't tried very hard. They did raise this with Mr. Barroso, who said he didn't want to do it. But if we're going to be serious about our renegotiation, we have to go to Brussels and say, look, this is what we want, and if we don't get it, we won't just meekly go along with the existing structures. It seems to me what we are doing now is pretty feeble if we have any intention of a renegotiation after the election.
Leading police officers say that the EAW has been a great help in cross-border operations against organised crime, such as the UK-Czech, the UK-Romanian action against people traffickers. Without the EAWs, it becomes much harder.
A leading police officer used the European arrest warrant to chase the hard-pressed parents of a seriously ill 5-year-old halfway across the continent. The police's view on this is whatever's convenient for the police is what we should do. And that instant, the use of the European arrest warrant then to cruelly separate parents from their child who is seriously ill was an absolute disgrace. And this is what the arrest warrant is. We're told it's all about terrorists and paedophiles and drug traffickers, and then it turns out it's used to harry innocent parents with sick children. Is that really what senior police officers want?
Except that the Extradition Act is going to be amended to assure that people can only be extradited if the country seeking them has made a decision to charge and try them.
This is the most speculative part of the government's case. Until the 1st of December, the European arrest warrant is an international agreement operating, therefore, under our law. After the 1st of December, whatever we put in our law ceases to matter because it will be determined by the Court of Justice of the European Union. So these protections have indeed been put into British legislation, but from the 1st of December, it is not British legislation that counts. And the Home Office really ought to be more precise in the language it uses in relation to so controversial a topic.
How many of your colleagues on the Tory backbenches are like-minded? How big is the rebellion going to be?
In December 2002, the Prime Minister himself made a speech against the European arrest warrant, where he expressed very clearly and very wisely why he thought it was not only a bad idea, but inimical to British justice. If even the Prime Minister himself had such doubts not that long ago, I imagine a very large number of Conservative MPs, in their heart of hearts, are against this proposal. I don't know how many will vote against.
But you put your leader in an embarrassing position, don't you? Because you now probably get this through with the help of Labour and Lib Dem votes. It's not exactly a great signal in the run-up to the Rochester by-election, is it?
That's his choice. It's very unwise for Prime Ministers to get controversial things through on the back of the opposition. Robert Peel did that, and it didn't do him a great deal of good.
Yes, though that's kind of faded with memory, hasn't it? Maybe.
Well, your memory is surely up to such
Oh no,
things.
I remember it well.
Were you reporting on it?
I remember interviewing Sir Robert after the event.
It was a very good interview.
He was standing exactly where you were. It's just there were more trees around in these days and a smaller Parliament.
Well,
anyway,
actually,
Jacob,
this was a site of slum dwellings at the time, but never mind.
well, I know that, but remember, he had been Home Secretary and informed the police he liked to mix with slum dwellers. I think we better leave it there.
We better leave it
before
there.
people switch off.